Hey y'all, it's Jenny. I've talked about my brain injury enough, but now I want to talk about my survival. And it was actually quite unique. Everybody's is unique, I promise you. But I had to throw a couple monkey wrenches into the whole survival thing. After I fell out of my second story window, which I call my Jenny bounce, when the emergency crew got there, they realized that there was probably, more than likely, a brain trauma. So they took me up to Life Flight and had to Life Flight me to Lehigh Valley Hospital, trauma, to the brain trauma, level 1. I don't know what it's called because of the severity of my injury. They actually figured that there was a brain trauma, very severe. Well, I had to throw a monkey wrench even though I was unconscious and probably in a coma at the time. Well, in the Life Flight, I went into not one cardiac arrest, which they thankfully had the skills to restart my heart and save me. No, I had to have a little fun with them on the ride. I had to go into cardiac arrest twice, but they were able to restart my heart twice. So I had to have a little bit of fun, if you know what I mean. You know, I couldn't just be boring, you know. Nothing boring about me. So anyway, they got me there, and they immediately went to work, like crazy. And my mom showed up, and it was like 2 days later, because they worked on me for 2 days. Brain, body, putting my bladder back together piece by piece because it had been ruptured. My lung had been punctured because one of the ribs had punctured it. So they had to reinflate it. I still have a scar from that where they had to go in and get the bone out of the way so that they could put the lung back together. Big old scar down my belly from the above my belly button almost to my groin, where they had to open me up and put the bladder back together piece by piece, but they didn't use any mesh. They did use the skills of the surgeons of putting each piece back together piece by piece. But the surgeon walked out, and the last surgeon walked up to my mother and said, "We've done everything we can to save her life." Meaning he didn't think I was going to survive. And he said, "And now it's in God's hands." My mother was absolutely blown away by that. She never expected a surgeon, of all people, to say that. And she said, "You're a surgeon, and you're telling me it's now in God's hands?" And he said, "Oh yes." He said, "There's nothing else we can do." At that point, she had no thought that I was even going to survive. Nobody did. I was in a complete coma, Glasgow scale of 3, which is the lowest you can go to even be considered alive. In a full-scale coma, rattled 9 broken bones, major broken bones. I was in ICU on life support. They asked if I had a do not resuscitate order, which I actually had one, but they couldn't find it, thank goodness. I had hidden it and put it away so safely, they couldn't find it. Another monkey wrench, thank goodness, but it saved my life. Lots of monkey wrenches, I guess. I just like to throw them in. My mother used to come and visit and pray. She even was told it might be time to make arrangements. If you know what I mean, what make arrangements means burial arrangements. But she was like, no way. No way. Until it's over, it ain't over. Because she's a very feisty woman, just like me. And 2.5 months in, I struggled against the breathing tube to take my own breath. They had to actually take the breathing tube out. I was still in a vegetative state, semi-vegetative state, but I was breathing on my own. People could not believe it. Even the doctors and nurses were like blown away. They were like, this is not going on. This is not happening. They, at that point, told her she would never walk. I would never walk again. I would be paralyzed from the neck down. Diggity, diggity, diggity. Yeah, right. That if I ever woke up out of the semi-vegetative state, that I would mentally probably be incompetent, in a mental state where I just wouldn't have the wherewithal to be of any awareness of what's going on. And at that point they said to make arrangements possibly for a nursing home, warehousing me. Well, my family does not believe in that. They have always taken care of family. My grandmother stayed at home until she passed. My grandmother stayed at home until she passed. My father stayed at home until he passed. Care coming in, but they always stayed at home. Even family took turns and learned to take care of family at home. Sorry I get a little bit long-winded, but this is kind of exciting. When I finally woke up, they couldn't believe it. They couldn't shut me up. I would wake up for short periods of time, then I would pass out. I would wake up for short periods of time, babble, 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 pass out. Then I woke up, and I could talk. Everything was fine. I could move my body. I had a neck brace, so I couldn't move my neck. But everybody was amazed. Then I was told, because they would move me from the bed to a wheelchair, over to the eating room, then back to by wheelchair to the bed, and they would lift me and put me back in the bed. And that's how I stayed the whole time I was in rehab. I was told I would never walk again. And I heard that so many times, it would just make me so angry that I just wanted to just throttle somebody. Well, one day, 2 days before I was supposed to be released from rehab, I got really angry. And the nurse was behind me with the wheelchair. Now, I was not locked in any way or roped in any way. She was behind me. We were going through the door jamb. She was behind me. I grabbed the door jamb and held it in the wheelchair in place. She was behind me, trapped. And I went to go, and I held on the door jamb, and I pulled myself standing up. And she's screaming, "No, you can't stand." And I'm like, I can't stand, and watch me. And I pulled myself up to standing position. I walked around the corner, held onto the bar, and I took like 4 or 5 steps, and she's behind me with the wheelchair, scared as heck. And I'm taking a couple steps. I thought, in my mind, I walked halfway down the hallway. I probably only took 4 or 5 steps, but I walked. And that was good enough for me. I was like, yeah, tell me I can't, I'll show you I will. That was the beginning of, I don't listen to what people say I can't do. I'm going to show you what I can do. And I'm a can-do girl. I love to throw the monkey wrenches in, but I'm a can-do girl. Later, Gators. That's my story of the beginning of my survival.